Hey Hodies, well, welcome back to my channel. My name is hautemesstom and thank you so much for clicking on this video. Today we are going to be doing a brandless finger application of makeup. If that sounds like fun, I would love for you to stick around. If you are new to my channel is all about loving my makeup collection as it currently is and just being very considerate when I do decide to bring things into my collection. I'm no minimalist, that's not what I really am about. I like to keep control of things in my mind of like what I have and like have a relationship with all of the makeup items in my collection. So while it's not minimal by any means, it is certainly not super expansive either. If that kind of content sounds good to you, I would love to have you subscribe. Make sure you like this video before you leave it. I'm on patreon.com if you would like to support me there, and I am nominated in 3 categories in Best of Pittsburgh. There's only a few days left to vote. I'm nominated in Best YouTube Account, Best Lifestyle Influencer, and Best Thirst Trap. In my description box, there's a link so you can click that and go vote for me if you feel like it. I would really, really appreciate it if you did. If you've already done that, thank you so much. And I just want to take a second to actually thank my patrons. I don't promise that I do that, but I really, really, really do appreciate you guys. I really do. And I want to do that on this public platform. It's really early in the morning. It's 8:30. I guess, is that really early? It's Saturday. It's early for a Saturday when you work a Monday through Friday. And I do. I wouldn't say that I'm like blessed enough to, but I certainly do. We're keeping it cozy. We have the coffee. This is actually like a mashup of 2 different video ideas. I wanted to do like a finger application, like as a reminder that we don't need tools. But then this lovely subscriber suggested I do a video where I don't mention what I'm using. What I'm gonna do today, while I'm doing my full face of makeup with no tools, just my hands, I'm going to try to describe the qualities of the items that I'm putting on, and I'm going to try my best. I don't know that I'm gonna be able to completely succeed in this. I'm gonna try my best to keep anything that has a brand off the screen, and I'm gonna try to keep all the packaging off the screen. That means that I will have to do my mascara off camera because there's no way for me to do that without getting the packaging in the screen. Now, I'm gonna set some ground rules and some expectations. First expectation, you will not ask me what I'm using. Not in the comments. I will not be leaving them in my description box. What's on my face will be completely left blank. And what I'm gonna ask my subscribers who know my collection kind of well, because I do often use the same things, what I need from you is to let's not guess what I'm using. That's not really the purpose of what we're doing here. Because a lot of you who watch my channel often are gonna know what I'm putting on my face. Whenever I describe it, whenever you see me putting it on, the color of things, you'll know. That's why I don't want any discussion about what I'm using in the comments section. So this all will remain a mystery. So this is just a reminder. We do not need brands. We do not need brushes to be able to do a beautiful face of makeup. Another thing I would hope that we all get out of this video is just, as always, whenever I'm playing with my collection, is to remind you that if you have makeup, you very likely have something that works for you. And we're always chasing the high. We're chasing a brand name. We're chasing the newest thing that YouTube or TikTok or Instagram is gushing about that we feel like we need in the beauty community, in the beauty space. And it's just not true. We never need that thing, especially when we all have makeup at home that we could be enjoying. With all of that being said, I'm ready to jump into this application and I'm really excited about it. I do my makeup with my fingers, not like the most often, but I do it occasionally because sometimes it just feels like too much effort to grab a tool, and I don't know what that is about me. I always feel like I look really good when I do my makeup with my fingers, and you can too. You can too. Typically when I'm using brushes, I like to start with my eyes because I tend to use either really sparkly things that tend to get a lot of fallout, or I use pigmented things that tend to have some fallout if you're not careful with like kicking off excess on the brush. So I'm just a little bit messy when I do my eyes, but for the purposes of a finger application, I like to start with my complexion. Right now there is no glitter on my fingers and there will be shimmer after I do my eyes, and so we don't want to get the shimmer all over our face. We want to have as much quality control as we possibly can going through this. So when I think of what I like to use whenever I'm thinking about a primer, that is if you even use primers, because I know that some people do not, I tend to like something that's a little bit oily or a little bit wet, something that's super moisturizing. Because we don't have like the other tools that we normally use, I just think it's best to set our face up for success, to give us a little bit of slip to allow us to blend things just a little bit easier when we're using our fingers. Because just some products aren't really always designed to be used with our fingers, even though they can. And so I just like to set myself up for a little bit of success. So I'm going to use something really, really emollient. I will be using something that's oil-based, but it doesn't have to be oil-based. If you have like a serum primer or just anything that just makes your face feel really glowy and just has not just like greasy, but just like a little bit of slip. So whenever you rub your fingers on it, there's no tension and they just glide across, because we want to do that with the makeup that we're about to use after this. As you can see, my face is pretty glowy. There's not as much tension whenever I rub my finger up my cheek like that. So we have like a nice canvas that is ready to receive other products. I know a lot of people start with their foundation, but whenever I'm playing with my hands, I do like to start with concealer. I don't really know what it is. I really don't have a rhyme or reason. I only really use concealer under my eyes. And I think what happens whenever I do my concealer first in this, whenever I'm applying like this, is that the concealer goes down pretty far. And so then I just use the foundation on the perimeter. I'm one of those people, if I do foundation first, I still take it up under my eyes, which you don't need to do because that's just like an extra layer of product, unless you're like looking for that double coverage or whatever, but I don't think it's a super necessary step. So whenever I think about the kind of concealer I like when I'm using my fingers, my voice isn't here yet. My voice isn't present. When I'm thinking about concealers that I like to use for this, I want something really emollient. And I would say like when I'm playing with stuff on my face with my fingers, I'm medium coverage at most. I think doing full coverage with your fingers isn't really conducive. The high coverage formulas tend to be really thick, and I find them to be a little bit harder to spread with my fingers. So I'm looking for a concealer that has like medium coverage at most, that feels really emollient, that I know that spreads really easy, because whenever we're applying to our under eyes, it's like a very delicate skin area, so I don't want to have to maneuver the skin too much while I'm blending out. So that's what a kind of concealer that I would reach for in the scenario where I am going to be using my fingers. The concealer I'm using does have a wand, so I will come back and then I will have concealer already dotted on my face. I don't use too much concealer, so I always think that like less is more on the under eye, especially for people who have aging skin or problem under eyes. I think once you start building up too much stuff, it just makes it worse. That's how I feel. I'm not someone who spot conceals, so I really can't recommend at what point you would do that, but I do believe that most people spot conceal after they've done their full face, so you would wait to do that part after we would do the rest of the complexion. This is just a friendly reminder. I'm not making any accusations, but when you're blending things out under your eye, you want to use your ring finger, and I believe this is what they taught us in beauty school. It has the least amount of tension to apply to your under eyes. So whenever you're gently tapping, it's like the best way to blend things out. And I'm just gonna like gently pat the concealer under eye and blend it out. I would avoid dragging, blending like that under the eye with your ring finger. You don't want to pull too much of your skin. So we're already looking a little bit more alive. I mean, as you saw, I didn't put much concealer down, but we already look a little bit more alive. We already look more fresh. So whenever I think about the kinds of foundations that I would like to use, again, just like with the concealer, something medium coverage at most, something that's almost a little more liquidy than it is like cream or serum-y would even be good. So something that has just like what we put down as our primer, something that we know is going to easily smooth along the skin and work itself into the skin. I find that a lot of times full coverage foundations don't really become one with the skin, and it's important to remember that since we are using our fingers for everything, you have to remember that there will be like remnants unless the product really works itself into the skin, both in your fingers but also into your face, obviously. So we want to have a foundation that we don't think we're going to have to like feel like goopy peanut butter fingers, if you know what I mean. That's the kind of thing that I'm looking for. I think a lot of people would use a skin tint with their hands. I have like a lighter coverage foundations that I feel like work equivalently to something like a skin tint. So I'm going to use something like that. So something really light coverage, really, really liquidy, really something. So the one I'm using is oil-based, but you could use something that's water-based, serum, you know. It's just something that's gonna really glide into the skin and something that has enough pigment to make you feel comfortable. Obviously, I like light to medium coverage. That might not be your preference, but I do think that full coverage is a little hard to do with your fingers. I made like the dumbest Instacart order today. I needed ketchup. But I also wanted some soda because you know I love a soda. I have like Instacart Premium or whatever, so like if you hit a certain dollar amount, you get like the service fee is waived. And I was like, after all the stuff that I added, I was at like $34. So I bought a Kit Kat. I'm very excited about the Kit Kat. I haven't had a Kit Kat in some time. Here we are. We have concealer and foundation down. We're looking glowy. We're looking great. We're looking wonderful. I still like to contour whenever I am doing finger application. I know that not everyone contours. It's like not the most popular thing to do anymore. Most people are using bronzers to contour, and I do that as well. I do just like a little bit of chiseling, just like someone with a round face, you know, we just need a little bit of chisel. When I think about cream, again, everything, in my opinion, whenever you're working with your fingers, the more emollient, the more spreadable, the more it feels like you're buttering your bagel whenever you're putting it on, are the types of products that you want to use. Obviously, depending on your skin tone, how you like to contour is going to be a little bit different. I really like a cool contour because I have very fair skin. Anything, even a contour shade that has a little bit of warmth in it, the warmth really picks up on my skin. So I'm looking for something like a neutral, cool leaning whenever I'm thinking about a contour shade. I think contouring is pretty easy. I think it's a lot easier with fingers. So I will get some on the finger and I will just keep it in the concaves of my face. So like that's probably enough. And now I'm using a clean finger, like a finger that did not have any of the contour on it, and blending it out just by tapping in circular motions. I really try to avoid like dragging my fingers on my face unless I'm like obviously cleansing. I do think that it's probably more efficient to drag, but just for me, as someone who is like in their 30s, I just try to be very cognizant not to like pull my skin. So like when I do winged liner, it'd be really much easier for me if I like pulled the skin taut to do the liner, but it's I don't know, that doesn't work for me. And so I just did the cheeks. That's where I would leave that. And I like to contour under my chin and like under my jawline. Not everyone needs to do this. It just depends on if you would want to. On this part of my skin, not so concerned about doing a little bit of dragging, especially because I put the product underneath facial hair and it's pretty hard to blend a product underneath facial hair. So it does require a bit more tension than on my face. But my face skin is much more sensitive than this skin. This is skin that's been shaved for years and years and years. Now we're gonna cream bronzer. Cream bronzer, again, as I've said, something super emollient, something really easy to blend, something that when you're using a brush or you're using a sponge, you know it to be very, very agreeable, very forgiving. So I would say you might not even want something that's like super, super pigmented when it comes to your cream bronzer. For me, that's like how it is. You can always add more. You cannot take away. Otherwise, you're like basically starting your face all over again. I personally like bronzer that has like some glowing qualities to it, but that's not for everyone. But they do make matte cream bronzers and they also make shimmery cream bronzers, and that's just personal preference, and that would be up to you whether or not. I obviously like a lot of glow, even though I have oily skin. This is like always kind of the desired outcome whenever I'm putting makeup on. Because my personal opinion, this just looks much more like alive as opposed to something super matte. But super matte also has its benefits, and just some people prefer that. And so there's no judgment if that's what you like. But this is just like on my face over time. This is what I've desired. For placement of bronzer with cream bronzer, I always like start on my temple, and then I just kind of like dot out in a C around the perimeter, and then I just tap it in, just like I did with the contour. As you can see, like it didn't take much work to tap that into the skin and blend it out. And so now we just have like a little bit of warmth, and it also adds a little bit more sculpting to the face. I'm gonna do the same thing to the other side. Now we're gonna move on to cream blush. Again, I think all of the same properties of everything else that we put on, so like the contour and the bronzer. Something very easily spreadable, something with a beautiful texture, whatever your preference is as far as matte or shiny or glowy or skin finish, that's up to you. Just something that you know is super easy to work with and super agreeable, and you're gonna get like the best. I think that's gonna provide the best results and be like the least frustrating option whenever you are blending it out. So I tend to, my favorite kind of like cream blush formula is something that is almost kind of like moussey. Kind of when you like rub your fingers into it, it feels kind of moussey. And then as you warm it up, you can just feel how easy it's gonna be to spread. And like almost all cream blushes I think are so much easier to apply with your fingers. To be quite honest, I like to apply creams with a brush because I'm not always one to want to get my hands a little bit dirty. And getting my hands dirty, I'm saying very loosely there. But I just think that cream blushes just really lend themselves into blending just so much easier with the finger because of the warmth and the warmth meeting in between, the warmth that meets, you know, between your cheek and your finger. And I would also say if you know your collection well enough, or if you know your blushes well enough, really try to pick one that's not going to lift up anything underneath, because we are now getting to the point where we're like layering and layering and layering. You just really want to use products that are like super reliable to you. Otherwise, you might just find yourself frustrated trying to make one thing work and then it ruins another thing that was working until we put that other thing on, if you know what I mean. The blush that I'm using today is a little bit pigmented, so I actually tapped some off on the back of my hand, my other hand, before going in on the cheek. And I would say to build up, you get one finger that has like the product that you picked up, and then you have another finger clean. So you apply some of the color with the one you picked up product out of the pan with, and then blend with the finger that did not pick up that product. In that way you can just kind of gently build the color instead of feeling really overwhelmed and like you have to blend out a lot of pigment. I like to take my blush around my eye, like around the curvature of my eye, but not everyone has to do that. So here we are. Every step, we're looking more and more complete. Look at this stuff, isn't it neat? We're doing cream highlight next, and guess what I'm gonna say? Super easy, super spreadable, super emollient. Those are the qualities that you're looking for. If you want something with high shine, that's you. If you want to grab something sparkly, that's for you. But I just think creams are going to be the easiest to work. We are going to be applying some powders with our fingers, but that's just like not my favorite thing to do. I think it's just a little more effort to blend out a powder with your finger. Like, it can be done, but I do think that creams allow themselves and lend themselves to just like be easier to work with this. When I think of like my dream cream highlighter formula, it's something that I like a shimmer to it, but something that still blends. I really love a chunky highlight. If you think of some of the highlights that I use that have like the large glitter chunks, those are really great and I really do love them, but are they the easiest to work with? I don't think so. So I like something, if it has shimmer particles, I need them to be really refined, small particles, and really, really easy to spread out on the skin without looking like I have like little batches of little collections of glitter on my cheek. I just want something that feels more seamless. I like to apply my cream highlight with my finger, my ring finger, just like I did with the concealer. And I like to place my highlighter a little bit higher than other people. Just like with the blush, apply some with the product on it and then blend out with a finger that doesn't have it on it. And that way you can build the highlighter up to whatever intensity you want it to be without it getting away from you, if that's a concern of yours. That's almost like never a concern of mine. I really love highlight. Honestly, we could have just foregone highlight. We were looking so glowy, but it's a part of the process that I really enjoy. The only thing that I'm going to powder is right underneath my eyes. I think it's like really important for me to powder just right there. When I think about a powder I'm going to use with my fingers, I prefer a pressed powder. I think that loose powders are just a little bit too messy for what we're about to do. And this is actually a technique that I learned from watching Michelle Wong. So I like to find a powder that's blurring, that can really work itself into the skin without too much fuss. And what we're going to do is take that powder and just press it underneath the eye, get some of that blurring, get some of that setting quality, and that way it doesn't feel like our under eye makeup is gonna shift around. But I would say, like, if you know that if you have a couple pressed powders, something more finely milled is gonna be the better option as opposed to something that's not super finely milled. So you can see we just have a little bit more perfecting happening by pressing that powder that has a little bit of blurring, that's really finely milled in. And it's not that the side looks bad, but you know, we just have that little bit of perfecting. So now we have a little bit of powder. Let's move on to the eyes. We're still gonna use a cream shadow, and then we're also going to use a powder shadow. For cream shadows on the eyes, unlike all of the stuff that we have on the rest of our face, I like my cream shadow to have grip and a little bit of like not grit, but like have some staying power. And I find that like super emollient, like cream or liquid shadows can get away from me. So I'm looking for something like that's a little bit stiffer, still easy to blend, but it doesn't feel like I just keep blending, it'll disappear and work itself completely into my skin and then I don't have eyeshadow on anymore. I have pretty oily lids, so whenever I am using makeup brushes to apply my eyeshadow, I will put down a primer and then also put powder on top of it to add some more longevity, because oftentimes the oils in my eyes will often break through just the primer, but I find that I have a little bit better longevity whenever I do the powder on top of the primer. I like to keep it simple when it comes to eyeshadow in these scenarios, so I like to think of whatever is the easiest for me. So like browns, bronzes. I kind of stay away from cool tones. I like to be able to like finesse cool tones a little bit more. So just something very neutral I think is like going to be the easiest to do in this scenario, especially something that's like very close to your skin tone, but it's like adding a little bit of oomph. So maybe some shine, maybe some depth, but if the closer to your skin tone, the less blending you're gonna have to do. And since we aren't gonna be able to get really in there and really precise, like if we were using a brush, we just wanna make sure that we are using a formula and tone that is not gonna feel like we need to add more, because the more work it is, the less it feels efficient to use your fingers. So I have like a mid-tone bronze here, and I'm just gonna apply it to my lid with what I picked it up on. So with the ring finger. Now I'm taking my middle finger, which doesn't have the eyeshadow on it, and I'm just buffing out the edges. And then I'm gonna add a little bit more depth to the outside of the eye on the corner, but still the same shadow, and just keep building it up. We have a lot of control whenever we are just using one finger to apply the pigment and another finger to blend out, because if you try to blend with the finger that has all the pigment on it, then you're just gonna end up making it darker and darker and kind of lose that finesse that we are looking for. So if you are using a powder shadow instead of a cream shadow for this particular part, I would say shimmers are going to be a lot easier than mattes. Cream mattes you can definitely blend out with your fingers and still get something that looks really, really good. But I do think that matte powders are a little bit harder to use in this kind of scenario. It can be done, but I do think that the sparkle and the reflect in the shimmers and the satins forgive a lot of blending that we might miss just because we are using our fingers. And again, we're not really able to get in there and like finesse it with smaller tools. I can't just leave this be. This would be a lot. This would be enough for some people, but I need to add a little bit of razzle dazzle. I need a little sparkle. I particularly like the kinds of formulas that feel like they are just shimmers, but they don't have any kind of pigment to them. Almost like mica just suspended in some like gel, but not like a gel. It's not like thick and goopy like that, but it's just very thin, like glycerin-y feeling, silicone feeling, and I just like to add that on for the razzle dazzle so it won't affect too much the shade that I have all over the lid, but just enhances it with some sparkle. And again, the sparkle forgives sins, and that's just something that we need to keep in mind. So with my ring finger and some of a formula like that, I'm gonna keep the sparkle closer to the inside of my lid and not take it too far over. So here are the eyes. Very simple, super effective. If you wanted to, you could add some of, well, I'm gonna actually do that. So I'm gonna go back to the highlighter I used on my cheeks, and I'm gonna apply it to the inner corner to just give us that inner corner glow. And I do that with my ring finger because it is, in fact, my smallest finger. Apparently I need to go learn head, shoulders, knees, and toes because I don't know what my pinky is. And getting into that inner corner is like just a little bit tough without having our usual tools. But yeah, super simple eye. I think a super effective eye. I think you could wear this to the office and you still have a little bit of sparkle, a little razzle dazzle, but like not too much. Or you could wear this on a date, you know, just do whatever you want in this eye look. I think it's appropriate. I'm gonna do my mascara. Mascaras have a wand, unfortunately. Well, I think probably fortunately for all of us, it has a tool on it. So I can do that off camera so you don't see the brand. So we could have used eyeliner. Whenever I'm doing something that feels like, to me, like using my fingers, I'm always kind of going for like a much softer, blown out look. And I think sometimes eyeliner just adds a little too much for me, but you absolutely could use eyeliner. But it would have been really hard for me to essentially just like the mascara. If I was doing eyeliner, I would have to do it off camera. So that's your call. If you want to do eyeliner or not, that adds to the look for you. If it's something that you feel is necessary, you can absolutely do that. Obviously, there are no rules to this. I'm just implementing rules for myself for the purposes of this video. I'm gonna do my lipstick off camera because obviously, I can apply that directly to my lips from the bullet, and that's probably going to work the best for most people. So I'm going to do that real quick and I'll be right back. And that's it. This is my brandless finger application makeup look. I hope that you, like me, use this as a reminder to remember that it's not always about the brands. It's not always about the tools that we use. Our makeup serves a purpose, and it can look however it needs to look, and it can be whatever brand it needs to be. And I say this as someone who enjoys like the luxury experience when it comes to makeup. But I am 100% certain that I could have done this look with drugstore or any type of level of makeup, as long as the products were good products, and as long as the products had the formula that allowed me to put this look together. Also, as a reminder of, before you go out and buy something, can I look at my collection and go, oh, I could, obviously, if I use this thing in a different way, it's going to look a little bit different. Let me try that before I decide to go buy something else. I understand. Shopping is fun. I love shopping too. I don't think I would have this YouTube channel if I didn't enjoy the experience of shopping for makeup, because my channel at one point, I was trying to be like every other beauty person on the platform who was trying to review every single thing and always bringing the new thing in so I could talk about it. That's not what I do anymore. So obviously I found myself here, but I still love to shop for makeup. I still enjoy it. When my budget comes every month, I'm like, ooh, what can I buy this month to talk about on my channel? What do I want to buy for me? Those are all things that I think about a lot. And I do projects like this all the time just to remind myself that my makeup collection is really beautiful as it is. Reminder, refresher, we're not going to speculate what products I used in the comments down below. I will not be putting in my description box any of the products that I put on my face today. I think the only thing that will be listed down there will be my nail polishes. There's only one affiliate link in my nail part, and you don't have to click that. You don't have to use the thing that I have affiliated, because the purpose of this video was not to boost any brands. And that's not a shot at brands either. Obviously, I like a lot of brands. That's not like, but it's just a reminder that beauty YouTube, also this community, can be focused on things other than reviewing the new makeup. The makeup community can look like reusing. And obviously there's different communities within the beauty community, like project planners who do this kind of thing all the time. That's it. I think that's where we're gonna leave the video. I hope you enjoyed it. Before you leave, I would love to hear in the comments the qualities of the types of things you like to use whenever you're applying makeup with your fingers. I know a lot of us don't really do it because it feels a little passé. It feels a little paint by numbers, I guess, would be the thing that I would say, or the feeling I have about it. But honestly, did it serve? We look great. We can go out for the day. Let's go get coffee. Ooh, coffee. If you are new here and you haven't subscribed and you enjoyed today's video, I would love to have you subscribe. We have a lot of fun here. We're critical of new makeup. It's great. I just would love to have you subscribe. Reminder, I'm on patreon.com if you want to support me through monetary funds. And just remember to like this video. That helps me the most. And if you could vote for me for Best of Pittsburgh, if you haven't already, I would really appreciate your vote. And I appreciate anyone who has voted already. Thank you to my beautiful, wonderful, amazing, supportive patrons. I really appreciate what you guys are doing over there. I love the little back and forths we have over there. And I have another video coming to you. Don't you worry. It's coming before the end of the month. I got you. I know what I'm doing sometimes. And remember to follow your haute, and you will find me. I love you all so much. I will see you in my next video. Bye. Forever.